Real life. Who's running?
Go for it, Dan. Go for it, Dan.
All right, we'll continue. We just had finance. We just had Councilor Pelletier, the chair is not here tonight, but we have some updates. So the city clerk update is first.
Lisa Goodwin, City Clerk. Good evening. You all got a copy of my report last week, but I will review a few things with you. I mean, the office is very busy, to say the least, steady all the time with over 100 people coming into the office every single day. So there is times when mail will back up because we just don't have the staffing in order to get everything done. But what has been happening is we'll pick a couple of days in the evening and the staff has been staying over to catch up, to make sure that the payments are getting processed in a timely fashion. It was that they were a couple of months behind about a year ago, so that has caught up. Cash sheets for doing the deposits, we've got a good routine going now, so that is usually just a day behind. So that is really, really good because last year we had finance helping us do that. They just couldn't keep up. But now that we have merged, they seem to be able to get some of that work done. And it's always a juggling act. You know, if we're working on taxes, we might not be paying as much attention to business licensing, and then we'll have to go and catch up on that. So it's a back and forth on those things, but things are getting done and the staff is wonderful. We are down one person. She had her child and decided to stay home, and she's pretty happy. And actually, I think she's gonna move back to Sweden, so to be closer to her mom. So we are in the process of hiring one person. So once that happens, we'll be back up to full staff again. Stormwater liens and sewer liens, we have a little over 500 of each of those were filed in FY 24. Tomorrow we'll be filing the property tax liens, and I think we have 441 of those that are going tomorrow. Tax bills went out a little bit earlier than we anticipated on Friday. The assessing department has been getting many calls today with upset taxpayers, but so we're anticipating that we'll be seeing those too pretty soon. Boards and committees, that process is gonna start in another week. So we'll be opening up for all of the vacancies that will happen in January. And the plan is to have those interviews in September, hopefully on Tuesday nights, where you have the Tuesday night free. We'll do a couple of those nights. We do have some vacancies right now that need to be addressed before that time for planning board, water district, and we have some applicants. So we'll be scheduling a meeting with the personnel committee to get those positions filled, because those are pretty important to get people in that. I think there's 2 on the housing authority too, so that's important to get those done.
A couple questions, Councilor Schaefer.
I'm just curious, is there how do the stormwater and tax liens compare to prior years?
I think right on par.
Okay.
Yeah, and the tax liens are just slightly lower.
Okay.
And a few years back, I was talking with Dave Little, and he had told me that they used to be right around 800 for property taxes. So people are paying their taxes more. So that's good.
And was it just before the physical move over here that you started doing the payments as well in your office? And
Yes,
so just like a month or so before the move, or
yeah.
was it the
Yeah.
same time as?
It was just about the same time. Yeah,
So it's-
maybe just a little bit.
So it's been, seems the way I can, it seems like it's working
Yeah.
well, it's going well.
We're still doing a lot of cross training because there's a lot to learn on both sides for everybody to learn. So it's usually a year to get everything under your belt because, you know, we do things in cycles a lot in the clerk's office. So it's going to take a cycle to learn everything and then another year to get really comfortable with it. So I think in another year's time, they're going to be all very comfortable. I have an awesome staff. They're wonderful. They really are. They do a good job.
Just, you had more to your report?
Yeah, just touching on elections because that's coming right up. Because we just had 2 primaries. They were, you know, small, very small. I just finished up the voter participation history today. That is, we have to scan the voting list for everybody that voted. And I'm happy to say that the election clerks that were at the incoming list were perfect. Everything matched my report to the state on how many votes were cast. So that was wonderful that they match up. Monday nomination petitions will be available for city council and the school committee, so people can start taking out their papers at that point. They can start returning them August 7th, and the deadline is August 27th. And then we'll do the drawing for placement of city council on the ballot on the next night, the 28th, August 28th. And in another week, 2.5 weeks, we'll start taking applications for absentee ballots for November. So everything is starting to heat up really fast with that. We do plan on doing early voting at the Cross Center, those 4 days, Monday through Thursday, the week before the election. And we've extended the time out to 6 p.m. just because it's a bigger election, giving people more of an opportunity to get in and vote absentee.
Other questions? Okay, thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
We have the city solicitor up next. Dave?
Good evening, I'm Dave Sepchek, City Solicitor, and I wanted to give you an update on some of the things that we've been doing in the legal department since the last time we talked. One of the things I wanted to make sure that I talked about was the progress that's been going on in terms of the vacant building team effort to under the new registration ordinance and how that's going. Since the last time we were here, well, I don't know if it was since the last time, but there are now 79 vacant properties on the list that we use. And back at the beginning of the year, there were 58 vacant properties. There have been 34 properties added to that list, and that's the result of a combination of adding newly identified vacant properties and also adding, changing the process so that it's coordinated and adding properties from the placarded list that hadn't been on the vacant property list. So I mentioned to you the last time that there's going to be numbers that increase, but it's the result of us overhauling the process so that we're able to better deal with this and make progress. There have been 13 properties that are no longer vacant since the beginning of the year. And certificate of occupancies have been issued in 2024 on those 13 properties. The newly identified vacant properties, code enforcement verified those, some of those as a result of those properties being identified through the public. And we have now 30 registered and current vacant buildings. That's up from, there were only 14 registered and current as of the beginning of the year. I remember at some point before that, I think I remember there were 11 or 12 a few months before that. So there's been a lot of progress on getting the vacant properties registered, which is important for a number of reasons. There are now 49 unregistered properties. As I mentioned, there are 79, 30 registered, 49 unregistered, and all of those, except one, are in the process. There's letters out, whether it be the first letter, the second letter, the notice of violation, or beyond that, except one, that one is not in the process because it has been sold. And that was, and staff was there today, and it's been cleaned up, and a crew is out there working on it today from the developer. The developer's looking to have the water and power back on shortly. So that's the good news. So it's really 78 that we're talking about. And I didn't know if you had any questions about the vacant property work.
Yeah, for that.
With the letters that have been sent out, have you heard back from owners or companies who own these vacant properties?
Yes, we've had a number of the properties that are now registered as a result of the fact that they received notices.
Okay.
Others have gotten on that list of not being vacant. Okay, so we've had that progress, and the ones that haven't done either one of those, a second letter has gone out. But these properties are in various stages of the enforcement process. Notice of violation letters have gone out at different times. We've sent 54 initial letters, 64 second letters. We've sent out 23 renewal letters. There've been 23 notice of violation letters sent out. And we are currently in the process of developing what our attempts to contact them are in terms of a letter going from the solicitor after the notice of violation, if we don't have a response within 30 days. The purpose of that is twofold. One is to resolve it without going into lawsuit. And the second one is, if we can't do that, we want to be able to establish so that we can acquire jurisdiction over them if we have no response and we need to go into lawsuit. So we are, with some of those, we are at that stage.
Yeah, I suspect some of these are locally owned by individuals, but a lot of these owned by out-of-state organizations, banks or whatever.
That's right. And those especially, we want to make sure that we can, some of the notices have come back as if we don't know if they actually,
Mhm.
a person saw them so we're trying to develop a system so that we get somebody on there that can answer for the fact that they haven't registered.
Counselor Schaefer?
The ones that once we own them, I'm looking at, Deb knows what I'm talking about, we've owned it now for almost a year. At what point does anything happen with it?
Well, there are 4 properties that we've acquired and the law has changed in that regard. And we are now in the process of sending out an RFP they all now have to be, as of early August, they have to be sold via with a real estate
Mhm.
agent. And so my understanding is that they haven't, that's where those are. That's what stage.
So we can't like partner with Habitat for Humanity or something and turn them into affordable housing and have any input on what we do with those properties that we've acquired.
It would be more difficult to do that because we are required under the new law to make sure that, to take certain steps to ensure that the foreign property owner gets any sort of proceeds of any sale.
Counselor Dean?
Are these all residential or some commercial?
These are mainly residential.
Do you have a breakdown of single family and multifamily?
I do not, but I did bring my assistant, Mary Flynn, who's sitting behind me here, and who can answer some questions if I'm not able to. I'm not sure she has an answer to that one. Do you want to come on up, Mary? Do you want to sit over there?
Hi, I'm Mary Flynn. As of right now, we are not tracking whether or not they're single family or multifamily. Code enforcement would have that information when they put them on the vacant property list.
Counselor Yakubaga?
So if those are announced to be for sale, how do we guarantee that whoever buys them is not gonna just leave them and we are back to the same problem?
Well, we ideally would be able to enter into a development agreement with the purchaser. However, we can't, a development agreement cannot be such that it would lower the value of the property, given the new statute on sale of tax acquired.
Yeah, but at least to have it developed, I mean, not to leave it at the same shape that it used to be, right?
Right.
And that's the purpose why we're putting them for sale.
That's what we would be trying to do. It's just that there are more obstacles in the way of doing that with the new statute in place.
Counselor Fish?
How do you typically get notice or how do they come to our attention? And in what's a typical scenario?
They can come to our attention through our website. Right? Isn't there a vacant property? Can you talk to that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, there's one right here. Courtney O'Donnell, Assistant City Manager. Yes, through the report a problem that we just switched to SeeClick Fix, there is a category for that. so folks can report it that way, and obviously if they were to email us, we would also redirect them that way as well.
And they can also report it to code enforcement, and code enforcement goes out and, verifies or inspects to investigate those sorts of things, and that's how new vacant properties are identified. Thanks,
Thank
Gordon.
you. Anything else on this side? Right.
Okay, so, as you know, the legal department, covers the planning board meetings. It is, thank you, Mary, appreciate it. It is usually, the assistant solicitor Grace Ennis who covers planning board meetings. When she's not available, then I cover them. And I think I mentioned to you last time, we've implemented, a revised procedure in terms of the planning board voting separately on each required element that needs to be satisfied for land development permits. And planning board notices of decision are being drafted in a way that matches up with respect to each required element, the location in the record or the application of materials where the evidence is that supports that, the satisfaction of that element. And it's a longer process now, and we've been working to streamline it, but voting on each required element and having in the motion the evidence that's there is helpful. It'll protect those decisions from any kind of appeal. And so there are no appeals to report on that regard. As you know, the legal department is also the staff liaison to the Board of Appeals, which means that we take care of the scheduling, the getting a quorum, notices, make sure they go to the appropriate people and publishing in the newspaper, and legal guidance provided to the Board of Appeals meetings, including during the hearings, except where the legal department presents the city's position. And on that occasion, we will have outside counsel guide the board, because we can't do both. We can either present the city's position along with the code enforcement officer at the table, or we can be on the other side of the dais and be guiding the Board of Appeals. We've had 5 appeals submitted in 2024. 2 ended up being withdrawn. 1 was completed, and there are 2 in the process right now. We are always working on a number of contracts, Freedom of Access Act request issues, quitclaim deeds for transfer of property back to landowners who paid their taxes, sewer, or stormwater bills, and a myriad of issues brought to the legal department from CNED or planning, code enforcement, executive, airport, police department, public health, and other departments, and the public, as a matter of fact. And Assistant Solicitor Grace has been here, and we've been fully staffed since November. So the legal department has been able to become more involved in departmental contracts. We've been able to keep in-house contracts that we previously had to farm out, and Grace and Mary have been able to gracefully take on more responsibilities, and staff in other departments have become very comfortable going to them for help. And so it's going well in that regard. Oh, and Grace Ennis, the assistant solicitor, is not only our FOA contact person, our Freedom of Access Act contact person, but she has recently now our ADA coordinator, which makes at least one staff member here happy. That person's over there. So anyway, we have recently provided some training to CNED department, which has had a number of new employees hired. We did training on contracts, MOUs, development agreements, Freedom of Access Act requests and issues. And we did an ethics training recently, and I'll be coming to the GovOps committee upcoming for a few things, a minor charter change, proposed changes to the event permit policy, and the issue of the guidelines that we had for the city council that proposing to make them into a policy. And I really am welcome to any questions that anybody has on, that's only a sampling of the things that we've been doing. Do you have any questions?
Any comments or questions regarding the median?
Sure, there haven't been any issues since since the council voted, as the police have not gone past the first step, being, redirecting people to other places. I understand that, the people aren't on the most dangerous medians, when I spoke with, Mark Hathaway not long ago, and there haven't been any issues at all.
Great, thanks.
Anything else? Other questions? Oh, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the Maine Municipal Association Legislative Policy Committee position. Each Senate district in the state has 2 members, and we have 1 automatic, which is Council Pelletier, and then 1 elected, and no one was nominated, so we can write in a candidate
Correct.
if anybody is
Nice.
interested. And it has to be elected.
It can be elected or appointed, so it can be a member of the council. It could be the city manager, it can be the city solicitor, it could be the city clerk or the city assessor.
Mhm.
But I would really like to see us fill that seat. Especially in the upcoming legislative session, we'll want to make sure that Bangor is represented. It would be a shame to leave a seat unfilled. If there's council interest, that would be wonderful. If not,
When do
The
they have,
default would
what's the
be-
process? When do they need to?
so we have to submit a ballot for August 1st,
Okay.
and we would have to submit it as a write-in candidate.
Right.
And if there's a counselor who isn't able to do it, then I'm happy to do it.
Are they all in person? Can you shoot?
No, it's Zoom. Yep.
Participate
Yep,
in
they
Zoom.
do have Zoom.
So, people want to think about it like this? If not, you're,
Okay,
do it.
so if anybody wants to do it, let me know. Otherwise, we're gonna file the ballot next week.
all right,
All right?
okay, everybody's good with them? Good. And your updates?
Yes, so I see Tracy's gone, but we'll get some information out. I think it's been more than a decade where we have been trying to return and get moorings in the channel of the Penobscot. We have a mooring in, so we actually got our first mooring in. We anticipate being able to accept reservations for this location shortly. One of the requirements tying up to our mooring is you will have to have a dinghy, a craft to transport yourself to shore. Tracy looked at and identified a spot on dock 3, which we will hold and make available for that purpose. It's kind of an interesting setup in that if things go well, we actually would have the ability to expand it and create additional slips. So,
Was this a city issue or Army Corps of Engineers?
so it was the Armored Corps of Engineers for a long time,
Mhm.
but Tracy has all of the history on it. So
So is
we
it
got
gonna
it, we
be-
finally got it cleared that we could put moorings in, and then you couldn't find
Right.
anybody
But
to
then,
actually
yeah.
install them.
So is it gonna be for a single vessel or we're
It
gonna
is right
raft
now.
out there, so you can have more than one or?
It is right now.
Cause there was
It's-
a raft out there. a
That's what
couple
it is.
weeks, So that's it, it's on a.
Yeah, it's like a
raft, okay,
white,
Yeah,
yep,
okay,
yep, that's it.
gotcha.
So, but that was a nice ad for transient boater population. Public restrooms have been installed at Abbott Square and Cove Park. Counselor Dean shared with us a photo of Abbott Square at 4:30 and everything looked hunky dory, so that was great. The information went out that the installation and the next installation will be at the dog park on Essex Street. It was interesting when we posted about Abbott Square and Co. Somebody commented on the post that says there's no signs. And it's like, yeah, there isn't. So we'll actually have signage in place
Yeah, I'd like to.
later
I'd like
this
to message
week.
about that.
So anyway, and the Cultural Commission will be discussing the public art component of that at their August 3rd meeting. So
I think that's pretty good way down.
I think they look nice too. The next piece I have is, Penobscot Community Healthcare is a federally funded, qualified health center. They're required to submit an application, to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Every 3 years, the application is to continue to provide healthcare services within their service area. So they have requested a letter of support from the committee to submit with their application to renew their service. I unless there's any objection, we're just gonna go ahead and submit that. Okay. Downtown, we have many things happening in downtown. I hope you see that American Cruise Lines has returned. And the difference this year is they are beginning and ending their tours from Bangor. So we are no longer just a stop. We are the embarkment and disembarkment point. I don't know if you saw, the police department is working with the downtown and they've rolled out their summer sleuth series. It's a promotion of downtown and an opportunity for PD to engage with the public. I think you've seen that the DBP's contract with Street Plus is in the works. I believe that the firm will be here, if not this week, next week, to be doing on-site employment interviews. So the individuals who will be performing this service are actually living here and have applied here. So that's where the employment will happen. We've also met with our outside counsel to prepare an amendment to the downtown TIF. With a primary goal of obviously adding this program to be an eligible project within the existing TIF. Our homeless response manager is getting up to speed, and you're actually gonna get your first chance to spend some time with her at the August 5th GovOps. She's gonna talk about and review the point in time count information as it relates to Hub 7. We are planning to do a ARPA workshop next Monday. And that will be the only topic. We'll give you an update as to everybody who has filed their annual reports, give you kind of a status snapshot of how all of the funds were allocated. And obviously you'll have the opportunity to talk about the next steps, what you'd like to allocate. We've had a lot of conversations about using the money for housing, specifically Grandview, so we can talk through those items and finalize the final awards or dedication of funds. The Y is looking to come in and provide an update on their project prior to the council meeting on August 12th. Lisa shared with you that September is sort of the time frame for the personnel committee to get together for the various boards and commissions. What I'd like to suggest is we pick 2 Tuesdays. Because this is usually, there's a big group of people, so if we do it a couple of Tuesdays, that seems to be okay with folks. And as you've noted, Council Chair Pelletier is absent tonight, so Dave Sepchak will open the meeting and you'll need to go ahead and nominate someone to serve as the temporary chair this evening. And that's the end of my updates.
Motion to go into executive session.
I move we go into executive session, 1 MRSA 456D, National Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, Local 772, General Firefighters.
Second.
Moving second, roll call vote, Council Yakabaga.
Yes.
Council Fournier.
Yes.
Council Haas.
Yes.
Council Pinico.
Yes.
Council Fish.
Yes.
Council Dean.